off the bottom suspended, or maybe they're below the surface. You can get them like that, and then if they're even in certain depths of water, if they're suspended, they'll go up and grab it. And then you can also work that worm just right on top, long leader, leave it, float it, and just let it sit on top and have a fish come and get it. There's a lot of ways to work nightcrawler. You can throw it on a super small panfish jig head, and I like to play around, paint my jig heads, but you throw a little bit of a nightcrawler on the end of that, specifically the ends of the nightcrawler, but any of it'll work if it's a really, if you're running low, but it's just the action on that thing, and it catches fish. So the worm, you can just use it a bunch of ways. You can tip your lures with it. So if you're casting an inline spinner, or if you're casting a spoon, you can tip your lure with a piece of worm, small piece, and it really does entice fish. And then last but not least, if you guys are those if you're a troller, if you love to troll, flashers and other things like that, maybe it's, Dave Davis, maybe you like the cowbells, maybe you're into there's a bunch of different versions, but having a worm, a leader, and then a worm attached, a hook and a worm, that's old school, but I mean, it works really well up at this elevation with these fish. So the nightcrawler is just gonna do a bang up job most of the time. If the nightcrawler's not working, you can try casting or trolling spoons. Spoons dominate. They just seem to do better than a spinner does. Spinners do not do that well. Inline spinners do not do very well, in my experience, fishing Caples Lake in California. Now the next thing we're going to focus on, guys, because I'm not going to, forgot to say, if you're going to focus on colors for spoons, silver and gold, but I prefer gold all the time, if I have an option. Okay, 1/4 ounce, that's king, but you can get away with all kinds of, all the way up to 1 ounce baits, lures. It really doesn't bother a lot of these fish going up to that size, but when you're on the bank, it seems like a 1/4 ounce is really ideal. Alright, so talked about that. Let's go ahead and talk about my next option. The next option, if I'm at Caples and none of that's working, I tried, the worm, I tried a couple ways fishing that, we tried a spoon, that didn't work. Now I'd throw on some power bait, and I'd throw on 2 colors with 2 rods, so it'd have 1 rod with chartreuse or chartreuse with glitter, and 1 rod with rainbow or rainbow with glitter. I don't go fancy. Those are the classic go-tos. Been using them, and everyone's been using them forever. And if you look at what actually works, not just the trend or like the last 5 or 10 years, look at what's worked since the beginning and still works now. That means a lot. That means that throughout the whole, those colors dominated the last, the entire existence so far that power bait has been around. So, alright, power bait, how you gonna fish it? Carolina rig it, slip sinker, slip bobber. That rig works excellent. You're going to want to use monofilament line to help it float for your leader. And you're going to want to go ahead and use a small hook. You're using a small hook because you don't want to use lots of power bait, but you want it to float. So if the hook's too big, if it's too heavy, you're going to have to put a lot of power bait on there to make it float properly. But that extra power bait's actually gonna, really affect your, you know, basically your bite ratio. So you're gonna get a lot of bites, but actually getting hook sets is gonna be more difficult with the bigger, bulkier glob of or ball of power bait than if you have a very a smaller profile where when they take it, they take it. Alright, so you can go ahead and experiment 12-inch leader all the way to a 3 or a 4-foot leader when you're power bait fishing. And there's another thing, guys, and I didn't mention this, but if you're gonna be in a boat or a canoe, a raft, a kayak, a flow tube, anything like that, you can drift a worm and you can drift power bait, and that'll work sometimes better than still fishing. So you have to play around with that. Alright, the next thing we're going to talk about, something else that I've done well on there, and it's my number 4. It's go-to number 4, and that's going to be salmon eggs. The old school salmon eggs, the red ones. They're hard to keep on the hook. That's the negative right off the top. I'm just going to mention it. They don't stay on the hook very well. So when you cast them, use a lighter setup, use a lighter sinker, cast just really light and without much effort, or you don't really want any force of any kind, that those salmon eggs will just come right off. And if you cast too far or too hard, the impact when the sinker hits the water and the salmon eggs hit the water, it's all bad. So that's going to be the trick for you guys, keeping them on the hook. But they work. They really work. And they're going to catch you a lot of wild fish. They're going to catch you a lot of random catches if you go certain places. The panfish love these things. I don't know. So if there's any panfish or any weird sucker fish or anything like that, they might play with them and they might steal your bait. So you got to be careful. But here's the deal. They catch the bows, they catch the browns, they catch the brooks, they catch Mackinaw, they catch it all. So it's a really good bait. Okay, we got done with 4. We got one more to go, guys. Just one more bait to talk about. Now, when you're fishing at CAPLES, you got to remember it's clear water. So these fish, their line of sight, their ability to see their surroundings is really good. Everything's highly visible. So, and we're up in the high country. These fish tend to prey on natural profiles. And the fly, guys, the fly is a killer bait. If you're not using a fly, just Carolina rig it and drag it around, drift it, still fish it. Believe it or not, if you still fish a fly, it's gonna move. If there's a current under the water, if there's a strong wind, it doesn't really matter. That fly is gonna move underwater without you actually doing anything, and a fish can come pick it up. I've had it happen. There's just so many ways to fish a fly, same deal. Slip bobber, float on top, let it go down, let it float on top. You can just, there's so many ways to basically fish it. I stick to 2 colors, brown and then black. Go with brown on a day where we got lots of sun. Go with black on a day where we got maybe some overcast or clouds. That's pretty much it. I'm not saying you can't go out there with other color flies. Flies in general, I think, are going to be productive, but those are my 2 favorite colors to use there. And just remember, guys, when you're fishing CAPLES Lake in California, the different species that they have are lake trout, Mackinaw, rainbow trout, brown trout, and brook trout. They might have some sculpin, wild sculpin or something like that running around. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them, but they're a little small bait fish. Doesn't get much bigger than 3 inches. But other than that, I'm not sure if there's anything else in there, guys. So if you like the video, give it a like. Click the like. Subscribe if you haven't, guys. Stay tuned for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.